Would you consider yourself a high-level entrepreneur? Now, most likely, if you're listening to this, you definitely are. And what I've heard over and over and over again is it's hard to find like-minded people that are like that too. Again, I'm from Maine, so I totally understand how difficult it can be. Thank goodness I have an amazing online community, so I know tons of them. And that is exactly why we are starting this brand new mastermind group with high-level, like-minded entrepreneurs, the ones that you know you can go alongside with that will help move you to the next level, let alone with kick butt coaching from me, because I like to slap you around, both on focus and on strategy. So if you're looking to double or triple this year, which I know most of you are, I want you to go ahead and apply and see if it's a good fit for you. I will totally tell you if it's not, and if I wouldn't do it if I were you. But go to eventualmillionaire.com/apply. We are looking for amazing, like-minded entrepreneurs. My previous mastermind members have told me it is life changing. So take the time today, fill out the very quick application, and we'll see if it's a fit. Take care.
Potent advice and inspiration from real self-made millionaires. Welcome to The Eventual Millionaire with your host, Jamie Masters.
Welcome to Eventual Millionaire. I am Jamie Masters, and today we have back Hugh Culver. Of course, he's an amazing keynote speaker, had tons of businesses beforehand. His new business is yourblogworks.com, and I'm so excited to chat with him today. Thanks so much for coming back on the show.
Jamie, it's great to be back. Thank you.
One of my favorite things is seeing people that are friends of mine, because I call you a friend, by the way, just so you know, seeing friends of mine start new things, because you're brilliant in so many other aspects, and then I get to see you do something new. So tell me about what this new thing is so we can dive all into it.
All right, so here's what happened. So over 5 years ago, I was trying to build my own blog. And what I mean by that is build traffic to drive traffic to my speaking business, which at that time was really central to my revenues. And I realized that I wasn't getting growth in my traffic. So I started to create a system that put my blog on social media. And here's what happened, Jamie. I went to a city to present to a bunch of speakers to talk about the speaking business. And at the end, really off the cuff, I said, okay, I've got this little form I've made up. Would you like me to put your blog on social media? This is how much it is per month. And 1/3 of the room gave me their credit cards. So I went, oh my gosh, I'm onto something. So I created this system and I built it out to where we have 11 contractors. Now we have 13 contractors, and we take the client's blog and we create their social media posts from their blog. And then 2 months ago, we also added blog writing. So that's what Your Blog Works does.
Oh, that's awesome. So how do you change trajectories, right? Because I know you had a trajectory that you were going for, and then you just threw out this thing and then you went the other way. Like, how do you reposition what you're doing? Or did you just do them both at the same time for a while? How did that go?
Yeah, and it's a good question, because this is not exactly like an Eric Ries pivot, right? This was this is like a step to the left. So my business for many years has been in public speaking. Then I started working with speakers to help them grow their business. And then I realized what I really wanted, Jamie, and this is kind of central to what I want to talk to you about today, is what I really wanted was I wanted steady income. Because I have lots of investments in real estate, and they provide me with steady income, and I like that. And what I noticed is that the businesses I kept creating were up and down, and that's frustrating. And plus, I was constantly chasing new clients. Well, I thought, well, if I'm going to help people with their blog, why don't I create a subscription business? And what I mean by that is you get a package of services and you pay a set fee every month, and it comes right out of your credit card. And that central idea to how I designed the business was transformed everything, because I realized I don't really want to be an agency. Quite frankly, I don't want to be talking to people about the same issue over and over again. I want to solve their issue in a much better way. And the way to solve it better is to create a system rather than me constantly being on the phone one after another talking to people. So that's been central. And you know, it's been hard because we constantly get asked for customization. Oh, well, wait a minute. I'm launching a book. I'm putting on a conference. I'm doing an affiliate launch, and we have to say no. We don't do that. But what we do is going to be fundamental to your success, because it's going to be consistent and it's going to be ongoing.
Okay, I have so many questions in regards to that because one of the main things when I get into a business is I go, how do we get predictable recurring revenue?
Right.
Because it stresses people out when they have these ups and downs like crazy. So when you plan on having a subscription model, but then say you don't want to be an agency, it's an interesting line that you're going
Right.
down, right? So
Exactly.
how do you do that?
So,
How do you make that
okay.
line?
So I think of it like a continuum. We have seen, you and I, in the last decade, all sorts of SaaS businesses get started. So software as a solution. And in my field, in blogging, there's tons of fantastic software tools. I said, well, I don't want to be a software tool because that's not, I'm not a software designer, and I'm sure I could hire those people. And in fact, I did try, but
Did
it's just
you?
not me. And at the same time, at the other end of the spectrum is agency. And agency is another model I don't want. I don't want to be on the road with my family answering phone calls about a client that didn't get this happening. So I thought there must be a happy medium between software, which is mechanical, very regimented, and the customer has to sort of fit the software, or agency. And what I thought was, well, what if I did it all by humans? Okay, so it's like human as a service. It's a HaaS business. And I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll just use all sorts of little bits of software to manage it, but the actual service is done by humans. And then what I needed to do was productize it, which is a term that Brian Castle came up with, right? Which is so brilliant. He's so good at this. But productize it. Okay, well, if I'm going to be on a subscription business, we have to list it all out. That's all. We have to create these standard operating procedures and say, this is the deliverable. And when you put those two together, here's what you're going to pay every month, and here's your deliverables. Now you've got something you can actually grow.
I love this. Okay,
Right?
so I want to dive deeper into how you productize, but beforehand, when I was reading your sheet, it was like how to go from 0 to 400. It's 440,000 a month, and how
Right.
not to do it. So apparently, screwed up a lot along the way, and I want to know. I want to know what that is because especially people starting right now and going, "Ooh, I feel like I want this." It's an interesting road to go down. So tell me about the trajectory of how you did that.
Sure. So initially, the mistakes that I made was I actually did try to customize, and it just burnt me out completely. So I was saying yes to everybody, and we were doing bizarre work. Like, so for example, we were taking people that were complete academics and PhDs, and we're taking their half-written articles, and we're trying to actually turn those into blog posts, but we didn't understand what they were talking about. Or we're taking people's books and we're turning those into blogs, which we do now, but we've actually come up with a system to doing that. And so I realized, well, I'm burning myself out, and here I am. I'm back where I used to be, which is chasing after contracts. So what I realized was, and by the way, burning out my team as well. So I realized, okay, I've got to come up with a list of what we deliver. And if there's another opportunity, I'll come up with a second list. So we came up with what we called light, and we came up with pro. And we ran with that for 4 years. So this is your light deliverables, and this is your pro. And then rather than adding another and another and another option, we would just change light and pro. So we always had these two models. And if it didn't work, then we would just change those two models. And so whenever a client contacted us, we would say, well, which one do you want, light or pro? And they say, oh, no, 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 I'm different. I am different. I need something that's colored purple, blue with polka dots. And I'd say, well, that's fantastic, but we may not be the best for you. So you should go and try and hire yourself a virtual assistant, And then when they try that, they come back and say, well, that was terrible. Okay, I need. So it was learning how to stick to my knitting. And what happened, Jamie, was then the income started to grow. It was incredible because now I can scale the business. See, now I can meet with my team and I can say, how do we deliver this better? And how do we deliver it without wasted time and wasted cost? And so the first 3 years was just a real struggle because I didn't really understand this idea of productizing. But once I understood that it's really no different than calling up your a car repair place and they give you your spring tune-up. Well, they've already figured it all out. I just needed to put that into something that normally is done at an agency level.
It's so much easier said than done, though, right? Because when you were in those 3 years, you're like, and if people are willing to pay you money, especially at the agency, and everybody wants what they want, how did you actually get good at saying no? Like, oh, lost revenue. Oh, right? It's really annoying. That's why people customize so much.
So one of the things that, okay, I think this will answer the question partially. So Jamie, one of the things we changed about 3 years ago was every meeting, we have a meeting every Tuesday. So in fact, I'm having mine today because I was on the road yesterday. So we have a meeting every Tuesday online with the core people in my little company. And then we start with the numbers. And that was a big game changer. So we started with the numbers. And so we figured out the key metrics that we want to see. So open rate on emails, and we want to see how much traffic is our two blogs getting. But we also want to see how many clients do we have, how many we lost this month or this week. And then we want to see how long have they been with us. And so once I started looking at the numbers, I started to realize where I was wasting my time. So we started to be able to identify, oh my gosh, like as much as we love them, these clients are completely using up all of our time. And so we dropped those clients.
How do you do that? Okay, how do you do that?
Yeah, I would just say, look, you've been a great client. We really, but we're probably not a great fit. And at that point, they probably go, okay, thanks. But they don't have a choice, right? We just say, you're not a great fit. And so the thing is that what I'm developing is a business that really doesn't depend on any one client. And so I can grow that business because it's okay if I lose one or two clients if they're not a good fit. What I want is clients that really love what we're doing. They realize, wow, this is way better than me trying to go and do it on my own. And it's actually a better service. And so the challenge for me is to constantly keep creating really valuable deliverables. Because what I'm realizing is there's a lot of things that we were doing the client doesn't really care about. Right? But what they want is they want to know, for example, they want to know how is this working? So they want some kind of a feedback, right? Every 30 days, they want us to check in to see, do you have anything we can add? And then once a month, we give them a newsletter. And then what we'll do is about every 90 days is we'll ask if there's something we can do for you. And we'll offer them something that is a value add that costs them nothing. So we might, for example, go in and do an analysis on their website for free. And it takes us 15 minutes because we're really good at that stuff. But for them, that's mysterious and it's something they don't understand. And so we'll say, look, can we do that for free? And we're not asking for anything. And so now they start to realize, wow, we've become a partner in their business and it's not costing them very much because it's productized. So and I think a lot of people can start thinking about their business and say, well, what am I doing that I one-off it all the time? Always one-offing it. And how could I productize that and create a really valuable service that's profitable?
How did you come up with that? Because especially for people, I work with a lot of agencies and I love working with agencies because there's a lot of very small tweaks that make huge impact differences, right? And so when you're looking at your Lite and your Pro, how do you determine what that is? And how do you determine what are the bonuses within all that? Because there's probably a million things that you could be doing.
Yeah, that's true. There is. And so what I wanted was to deliver the minimum sort of effective dose, and so the Lite is the minimum effective dose. So if a person is really busy, this will take care of your social media. This will get your blog announced to the world on your followers, and it's going to do all of that for less than $100. So every month for less than $100, you're taken care of.
Your Lite is less than $100? Yeah. So I remember your value was... Yeah. Like it was incredible. Almost as much to have a VA do all of this stuff anyway, even when we already had all of our systems.
Oh, totally. And so a lot of people that are attracted to what we're doing, they've been struggling because they've had their cousin doing it, or they've gone overseas to some foreign country, a third world country, to get someone to do it, and that person goes away because it's their cousin's wedding, and they don't tell you. And so we come to them and say, look, we all live right here in British Columbia. We're all really sweet, nice Canadians, right? And we're not going anywhere. We speak English as a first language. We double check all of our work and it's less than $100. They go, well, that's unbelievable. Why would I want to do that? And now that we've added blog writing, we're saying to them, look, just give us a rough draft, and for under $100, we'll completely finish it, do all the SEO, publish it, and we'll even send out the email. They go, well, that's unbelievable. And so that is like the minimum effective dose. But then I can go to them and I can say, well, look, you've been with us for 90 days. Why don't we go and do a website analysis for you? Why don't we go and do this for you? And they love that because it doesn't cost them anything. And now we start to show up as their friends and their partners. What I don't want them to do is to go online one day, find some other really cool thing and leave us because, I can just subscribe to some software and save myself $30 a month. Well, that's insane. So what we're saying to them is, a lot of these things you should not be doing. You should not be doing them. You are the business owner. This is not how you should be spending your time.
A million times, yes. So tell me what the pro is, because then I have so many other questions that I want to ask about your
So,
team.
right. So the Pro, BlogWorks Pro is essentially twice as much social media. So, for example, we'd be on Facebook every day for you, LinkedIn every day, and 4 times a day on Twitter. And we're taking that all using our algorithm. We're taking that all from blog posts that you've already written and also from curated content. So we literally we're going on the web. We're researching other articles that relate to your business. We're updating hashtags. We're updating time of day. So for less than $200 now, you've really got a partner in your business. So what people are doing now is they're combining that with blog writing. So we can actually, well, here's one of the things that's really cool, Jamie, is we've actually started to really take on what we call reloving old posts. So one of the things I discovered, and this has been a lot of people online have been talking about this for years, but one thing I discovered is that you can very quickly go in and identify using keyword analysis and Google analysis. You can go in and identify blog posts that actually should be republished. And these blog posts are maybe 12 months old or 24 months old, and they're actually still attracting quite a lot of traffic. And they may even have, ideally, high time on site or dwell time. So here I've got this blog post that's actually generating a lot of my traffic. People stay on it for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, but it's old. And so now it doesn't look as attractive because it's dated 2017 or 2016. So we'll go in, we have a 15-point refresh, and then we republish it.
So
And
wait,
what
you
happens?
actually republish it, or you just on social republish it?
No, we republish it. So the trick
Huh.
is the permalink stays the same, and the URL, but you republish it with a new date. You put a little line at the top that says this blog post was originally published in August of 2016, and we have updated it and we have republished it for your benefit or your enjoyment. And now what happens is all that SEO link building that's been going on for 2 years comes up to the front again, and you get a huge boost in traffic. So we're seeing over 200% better results with blogs doing that than continually adding new blogs.
That's really interesting, especially because when I think of your blog works, it seems more of the social side of things and more like, hey, let's get more eyeballs on it that way. But you're saying you can refresh the SEO side of things and it can make the work that you already did have more benefit.
Totally. So three of the writers on my team are specialists in writing blogs and articles and in doing what I just described. And so we'll go in with the client and for free. We'll do the analysis and we'll say, look, we've identified 12 blog posts that are like hidden gems. These blog posts together are pulling in 43% of your site traffic, but you've completely ignored them because they're old, and yet they're still pulling in traffic. And so, like on my site, Jamie, so when I did this analysis on my site, I discovered 67% of my blog posts are pulling in the majority of the traffic. Okay, so like literally, they're like some of these blog posts are pulling in 400 or 500 people a day, and yet they're 2 years old. So now one by one, we do it once a month. One by one, we go in and identify those blog posts, 15-point refresh, republish, and the traffic goes crazy.
Huh? Because it's just getting higher ranked in Google?
Yeah, because Google already identifies it as a high traffic blog post. So now what you're doing is you're adding more juice because you send out an email announcing this as if it's a new blog post. Now the email traffic comes to it, the social media you've added to that, the social media traffic comes to it, but it's already a successful blog post.
That makes more sense. Okay, so you're refreshing it to your entire audience, and that's why people are coming back, and you already know it works because it's been working in the past before.
Right, and they don't remember that you published it 2 years ago. They have no idea.
Does it matter if you republish it, though? Does it make a difference instead of just pointing everybody to the old blog post as the same one?
Well, what you want, Jamie, is you want to have that new date on it. Right. So remember, when you get for organic search, so when people search, for example, if they're searching how to be a better leader or how to, deal with family conflict, and they'll see that date, it's much more attractive if that date is the current date.
Totally.
So,
yeah.
Right. If that date's within the last 12 years, they're going to get a lot more traffic. And so, yeah, so these things, this is, what I'm discovering is, and I don't know the percentage, Jamie, but I would suggest 90% of most people that have a website have no idea what's going on behind the website. They have no idea. And so what they do is they go to their designer, and they say, and I've done it for years. Oh, I need a refresh. And so then they go and spend $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 and they make a prettier website that still gets no traffic. And so we're constantly going in behind and looking at their analytics, and we're saying to them, I'm sorry to tell you this, but you have like no traffic. You're spending you have no traffic. Like nobody is going
They're
to the
like,
website.
thanks, Hugh. Appreciate you telling me.
I
I
know. It's
know.
like 10 people a day are going to your website, and you're going to go spend $5,000 more. You need to, first of all, you need to figure out what's wrong with your website. And the chances are pretty good. And here's the thing, Jamie, you and I have been, we've been enamored with all sorts of social media trends, right? And it's fantastic. Like it is fantastic to do an Instagram story, a Facebook Live, or these are really cool. But the reality is, if you are in a content business, like if you want to become a thought leader, you need to, I call it the client wants to pick your brain first. They want to see how do you think first? And I think the best way to do that is on your website, and it's with intellectual content. You're sharing your best content. So that could be video, it could be an infographic, it could be you taking your podcast and putting it on your website, but it has to be on your website. If you've got videos on YouTube, put it on your website. And then what you have to do is do it on a regular basis. And when you've done that, you now need to make it really easy for people to share it. And what I see is people may have good content, but they haven't thought about, first of all, what keywords should be in there, and they haven't made it easy for me to share it with anybody. So it just sits there. And then they add more and more and more. And so we have clients come to us and they're blogging every week and they've never once looked at the results. And it's kind of a shame, right? Because this is great stuff, but it's like having a fantastic restaurant in the middle of the desert.
Right?
Right?
Well, it's the 80-20 rule, but people are like, oh, well, I'm supposed to be blogging or podcasting or whatever, so I just am a content machine, but you're not actually optimized what you're doing at all, and you just keep running the rat race of more content. But what you're saying especially is you can just use a lot of the old stuff that you have also, and there's a lot of ways to refresh. So you were actually telling me beforehand that you're willing to give away one of the website audits for people that are commenting. Right.
I think it'd be really fun to help one of your listeners. And so here's what I'd like to give away, Jamie, is it's going to be a vacation for 4 in Maui with myself and 3 of my friends.
Now everyone's disappointed now, man.
Door number 2. So what they should do is are we do a comment on
yes, we'll do a comment on the site. Yes.
So, all right, so you're going to go to Eventual Millionaire. You're going to look at this podcast recording, and what I want you to tell me is why you want to make your blog more successful. So why do you want to make your blog more successful? Is this because you're trying to grow a book? You're trying to build a book, right? So the blog will be chapters of your book. That's cool. Is it because you really want more people to know about this amazing business that you've got, or this service that you have, or this great online course? So why do you want your blog to be more successful? Jamie and I are going to choose someone randomly in the next 30 days. So we're going to do this in the month of March when this is being recorded. And
this goes live on April 22nd, so it'll be after. Yes. So 30 days after. Yes. So
we'll give you 2 weeks to put the comment on, and then we'll pick someone at random. And then what I'll do is I'll set up a call with you so I can actually go behind the scenes and I can just help you to understand what's going on behind your website.
He's going to do all the magic, all the pieces in the map. We were just gushing about website stuff, and I do this with my clients too. Most of the time, and if you're listening to this is probably you, and don't feel bad about it, but you probably have no idea what's actually going on with your analytics, most likely, and conversions and all those things. And having somebody else give you a unsolidified or opinionated opinion about it, which will be hardcore important for your 80-20 rule, even if you don't sign up with him, but you totally should, of course. But when we're looking at the back end and actually looking at the data doesn't lie. So if you think one of your podcasts is the best thing ever since sliced bread, because it seems like everybody sort of talks about that, but yet the numbers show completely different, really important to know as a business owner, so you're not spending your time on something that you don't want to do.
Absolutely. So, Jamie, can I give people a little trick?
Oh, yeah, please.
Okay, here's a quick little giveaway. So, and in fact, we've written a blog post about this. So go to Your Blog Works and then search for analytics. You'll see this blog post. So I would suggest about 20% of the people that I talk to don't even have Google Analytics installed in their website. Aww. And so it's really a shame because you've paid somebody to build this website. And it's a really amazing how often this happens. And they have not actually put analytics into your website. It's kind of like, here's your car, but I'm not going to give you a dashboard. right?
I have to
Here's
just
the
say something
right.
because I work with 6 and 7 figure business owners, and it is still the case. And I'm like, wait a
Oh,
minute, we don't have analytics
right.
at all. Oh my
It's
gosh,
like thanks for opening your bank account, but I'm sorry we don't give statements. I'm
right?
sorry, can't go online. So you just trust us. And so here's a little trick: go to your website, right click, and you can usually find View Source. If you're on a Mac, you'll say View Source, or if you're on a PC, you'll see Inspect. Then go and search for capital U, capital A hyphen, and just hit search. So go to your website. Literally, you're on your homepage, right click on a Mac, and you'll see View Source Code. And then Jamie knows all this. She's a pro at this. And then go find. So on a Mac, it's going to be Command F or Control F on a PC. And then type in capital U, capital A, hyphen, or the word analytics. Hit return. And what you should do when you scroll down is you should see highlighted a code. It's like a 6-digit code with a hyphen and then another digit. That's your Google Analytics. It should be there. And if it is not there, if you can't find it anywhere highlighted, you've got a problem. And so you need to go on our website, yourblogworks.com, search for analytics, and we tell you how to install that. Now, it's not retroactive, but at least you can start to collect the data.
That's the thing that was such a pain. It's like, it's not retroactive, people. So go do it today. So that way we have some sort of data for going forward. It has been, I'm doing this new laser coaching show, and it's funny. I'm going to people's things going, give me your website analytics. And I get blank stares. I was like,
Right.
I didn't know that this was so common. This is really interesting,
Right.
especially with a lot of offline businesses. So some online people, yes, you definitely know this. Please look more into your analytics, people. That way,
Right.
like we said, we're not wasting any time.
It's so simple. And we
it-
wrote a blog post as well, which explains how to get it sent to you once a month. So you can set it up so it automatically emails you the dashboard once a month. You really can't be in business with a website nowadays unless you're at least once a month looking at what that website is doing. It's just become so critically important. Most clients or prospects are going to go to your website before they pick up the phone or email you. It's just the way it is. They're going to go and check you out first. And if you don't know what that traffic is doing or how much traffic you even have, it's really crazy to be setting business goals in 2019 if you don't know those numbers.
Well, and we'll find that post on Your Blog Works and link it so that way everyone can comment right on the post, so that way they can get the actual analytic review, which would be awesome. I have questions though, especially you've got this productized service, which is awesome, and it's you're gonna say something, yes?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
What's your question? Because I've got something I want to share with your listeners.
You're so excited. I love it. A lot of people don't listen on the video. You couldn't see his face, but it was really funny in a wonderful way. So the question though, when I'm looking at how many people you have on your team and your costs, your value is so high, right? $100 and $200 for the two types is extremely low. And most people nowadays, especially when you have a productized type business, they're like, we want to be high end. How can you keep your costs so low when you have a big team and they all speak English as right? I mean, it just
right.
it's
We
crazy.
get together. We go for Thai food. Like literally, all of them live within an hour's drive of me, and this is my model. Is I want to hire local people. So if you live in Texas or Arizona or wherever you are, here's the secret I'm going to share with you. This is critical. There are very talented people out there who would love it if you gave them regular work. And in return, they do not need to get paid their regular rates. So when I go to a writer and I say, I understand you normally charge this much an hour or this much an hour, I don't pay that much. I pay a set fee. So I pay per work. But what I'll do is I'll assign you 8 clients or 10 clients. Some of my writers have 18 clients. So now they've got this really nice regular income. And here's what we do. And this is the advice I'm going to give your listeners is you remove client contact. And now it becomes much more valuable for the employee or the contractor if you remove client contact. So my clients cannot contact any of my team except one other member and myself. So all those writers, they can work in their pajamas at 11 at night or 11 in the morning. They can work on weekends. They can fit it in around their kids. I know 3 of them have full-time jobs at bank.
Wow.
Yeah, one works at a university, one was a bank. A number of our writers have university degrees in journalism or in English. And so they can work around their schedule because I've removed all contact with the client. And so when you create the right work environment, you can actually, and I'm not trying to say I don't pay very well. We do pay very well, but we pay in a different way. We pay piecemeal. And the reason we do that is because, first of all, I need to control my costs. And also because I don't want to be monitoring this stuff. Like, I don't want to be going, well, it took you 3 hours to write that. Oh my gosh, you could have written that in 2.7 hours, you know? So I don't want to be dealing with that. But what I do want to do is I want to make it really, really wonderful for these contractors to do the work. So we pay piecemeal for the ones that actually do the deliverables, not for my main core team. And then we remove the client contact. So there are really, really talented people out there that would love to get a phone call or an email from some of you folks. And you just go to them and say, look, I've got this idea. I want to productize this service, and I need to put together this team. And here's my idea.
See, that's
Right?
genius. Yeah, that's huge, especially because you're actually helping them with the hills and valleys of their own business. So you're giving them a service back either way.
Totally. And then Jamie, we just, we use good old Google Sheets and Docs, and we have this whole system. And when that writer has finished their work, they go in, they check mark this, they put the date, so it's all updated. Most of our work is being done using free software.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask that too. Because if you're like, I systemize, what are you? Everybody is looking at the sexy stuff, right? Process Street and all these sexy things.
Sure.
And yeah, when I actually talk to people about their systems, they almost all go old school, right? Or they have proprietary software. So what are you using to systemize and productize this business?
So there's 3 tools that we use all day long. Mm-hmm. So the first one I mentioned is Google Sheets. So we just create really simple checklists. So for example, I mentioned that in January of this year, 2019, we've added blog writing. So we will either take a finished article, or we will take a rough draft, or we will write it from scratch. Or the fourth option is we will relove an old blog post. So we have prices for those. So we created a new spreadsheet. This is a new checklist. So each one of those clients has a new worksheet in one spreadsheet. And that's where my writers go, so they understand what the contract is, what the deliverables. No. So that's number 1 tool. Number 2 tool is we use Zoom a lot, because what I've discovered is it's much better for me to jump on a call on Zoom with one of my team members and talk it through. And then maybe I record that call, or I'll record a quick little instructional call. And the third tool is Slack. So we use Slack all day long. And I resisted it at first, and then I listened to an interview with Stuart Butterfield, and I was really impressed. And by the way, he comes from where I live, so he is.
So you like him more, right?
Yeah, more. Right? And interesting thing from this interview, by the way, I think his name, actually, he was Christian. I think he was Christian Namaste Butterfield, and he actually changed it to Stuart. So we use Slack all day long because that gets me out of email. And so my team members all use Slack, and we go on Slack, and that's so Zoom, Slack, and Google Sheets, and we've got a whole business.
So wait, so you don't have a project management software?
Nope.
Really? Wow. Usually the connector is the good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Jamie, we may move to one, but I'll tell you what. Here's what I think is a real problem right now: is that most entrepreneurs, especially solo entrepreneurs, are wasting way too much time learning how to use fancy software that they're not trained in, and it's not returning any kind of an ROI. And so at some point, yeah, sure, we may move to some fancy software, and that'll be wonderful. In the meantime, I'm trying to prove out our systems, and I can't prove our systems if I'm spending most of my time trying to understand a system. And this applies to your CRM as well. If you're spending all your time going on YouTube to learn how to create a funnel with your emails, really. I have a client who said, can you change my funnel because we're updating his lead magnet, blah, blah, blah. And I went on there, and he had 14 people on his CRM. I thought, you want me to log in and change something when you have 14 people, and 2 of those people actually work for the company that owns the CRM? Like, it's great you've got this fancy CRM, but you're wasting your time.
Thank you. Pedestal, like, get off the soapbox, but I so appreciate you saying that, because you can have 40,000 a month business and not necessarily use a whiz bang type of software. Now, project management, I think that's usually pretty core, but other than that, I always say committing 110% to whatever the software is that you're using, and that's what you're doing. You're like, Zoom, Slack, and Google Sheets, we are committed.
Like, and Jamie, I don't think those are, I mean, I think I paid $40 a month for Zoom. Slack is free and Google Sheets are free. And so eventually, sure, we can move into, and don't get me wrong, like we use Infusionsoft and we have all this other stuff. But the reality is that those software programs have cost me a lot of money in team time and calls for customer service. And I don't think they've returned the results. And
I
so I would like to strip it down, make it really simple, and I want to prove that my business works and that it's profitable, and then, we have a spreadsheet which shows how much money we're making every month and exactly all of our costs. And I want to prove the company is really valuable and working well. And then I'll go look at some fancy software. But I don't have time to be learning some fancy software right now. Like, we're having way too much fun.
We're having way too much fun.
We
I
are.
so appreciate all that. I just switched from Infusionsoft, right? And because I couldn't even send an email, and I'm a geek, and I was going, I don't know. We had a
Me
full-time
too.
tech on our Infusionsoft.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So I agree with you a million times over, especially in the solidification of the actual business that actually makes you money. Really important to do first before we put any whiz bang on top.
I want to give your listeners a message, okay?
Mhm.
And actually, you know what? We should talk about James Clear.
Oh, I love James. Yes.
Yeah,
Let's
he's
talk about
amazing.
James. Yeah.
Like, he's very clever. So here's the message I want listeners to understand is that in our world of all sorts of crazy apps and amazing software and all sorts of funnels, the reality is that what your customers are hungry for is someone that they can trust who delivers the goods. And here's James Clear. I've never talked to James. I think I will someday. But
Oh,
here's James
really?
Clear,
Oh,
came out of nowhere 5 years ago and just wrote a New York Times best-selling book. And you go to his website and there's nothing on there except really, really, really good content. And what I want people to understand is that you can get enamored with all sorts of fancy bells and whistles and affiliate launches. And the reality is what your customers want is really, really good content. And some of these listeners on this podcast would do much better to get rid of all that stuff and just offer coaching. Just offer really, really good coaching. Go back to the basics. Get rid of that $800 a month you're spending on all that software. Take one of Jamie's courses, learn how to run a business, and then coach. And once you develop that coaching, productize it and say, okay, now with my coaching, here's what you get. You get this, this, and this, and it's this much price. And then once you productize that, say, well, now I have another service that you can get. But I think that because online appears free, what happens is we get enamored with all these bells and whistles that go with it. And now we're spending more money than we're actually bringing in, and we don't have anything that we can scale. And something as simple as good old-fashioned coaching is scalable. Like, it is scalable to a point. And then if you get really good, hire someone else to help you. So that's my message. And I think a blog is actually coming back. And as much as it seems old-fashioned, people read blogs. And we have clients, myself included, where there is like thousands of people every day going to that blog. That's pretty hard to replicate in any other way. Like, imagine having 1,000 people coming into a hotel room and you get them for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. That's unbelievable. And you try and replicate that with all sorts of social media and all sorts of other stuff. Sure, you'll get a little bits of it, but that blog is going to be a magnet, and it's for bringing more people in. Plus, what it's going to do is it develops this trust and rapport. And I think why James did so well with his book is that we were so familiar with his voice. So because we're so familiar with his voice, when he wrote a book, we went, well, I would like that as well. It's no different than Daniel Pink. We became familiar with this, so now we want that, more of that, or Jonas Berger, or any of these people, or Cal Newport, right? I love Cal Newport's writing. Why? Because I read his blog. So don't dismiss blogs because they seem unsexy, or they, if that's even a word, right? Unsexy.
Oh, it definitely is. I use it all the time.
I was unsexy yesterday. I was unsexy yesterday, I think. So don't dismiss a blog. It's actually a great way for your clients to test drive your brain.
Well, and I've known James for many, many years, and it seems so simplistic where he just was getting better and better at his craft. Like, he was getting better at writing and I'm like, you don't have it. Nope. He's just doing his thing. And it's so amazing to see such an amazing launch from him just doing his genius for everybody to see, right? Hey, I still have this amazing.
And here's
content.
one thing. So HubSpot did a study 2 years ago, Jamie, and they discovered that 90% of the leads coming off their blog were from old blog posts. And so if you look at someone like James Clear or Cal Newport or any of these other people that we've mentioned, they have an inventory now of older content that continues to bring them business. And so putting in the time to really help your readers is going to be a really big investment long term. And those blog posts, if you've done your job right, those blog posts will continue to bring you work. They'll continue. As a public speaker, I would say most of my speaking inquiries are coming from my blog. Like I will open the email, and at the bottom of the email, there is the email I sent about my blog. They read the blog and then they emailed me the inquiry. So don't dismiss blogs because they appear old. They actually work better than most things online.
Right? Than the sexy new thing that you're supposed to be hopping on and then realize it'll be gone, like Snapchat and all that sort of stuff from beforehand, right? We put all of our eggs in this basket. Oh no.
Right.
Yeah. Blogging is not going anywhere. Thank goodness. It's writing online, people. It's not.
And podcasts. And podcasts.
Thank goodness. Yes. So everybody make sure you comment on this post. I know we have to start wrapping up in just a second, but comment on this post so that way we can pick an amazing winner so we can hook you up with Hugh. Hugh, you know my last question already. I prepped you before. You're like, I already know this one. I know your show, Jamie. I'm like, whoa, I know. You're a returning person. So what is one action listeners can take this week to help move them forward towards their goal of 1 million?
Okay. If you don't write a comment, which is really foolish of you on this recording, then what you should do is you should go to Google Analytics and just, you can pour yourself a big glass of wine or whatever you need to get through it. But you need to log into Google Analytics, which is super simple. Go to the search bar, type analytics. It's going to pop up, enter with your Gmail address, and set up the automatic email. So at least once a month, you're getting the numbers sent to you. You can't drive a car without a dashboard. You can't go and have a bank account without a bank statement. This is your statement. As a business owner, you need to, that's a minimum. It's once a month. They'll send you a PDF and you can at least know the numbers.
And you can set it and forget it, people. So just do it once. It won't take that long. Yes.
Right.
Thank you so much. Where can we find out more online? Give the website again so that way we can check it all out.
Sure. Thanks, Jamie. This is great. Go to yourblogworks.com. It's all explained there. There's great resources in the blog that you can look at. We've just also started to create a channel on YouTube. So we're just starting to get some how-to videos, which will explain some of our favorite plugins, how to use Google Analytics, techniques like that. So yourblogworks.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on the show again and again. And I'm sure I'll have you on again. So I so appreciate you and all your information. Thanks, Hugh.
Thanks, Jamie. My pleasure.
If you enjoy this show, I would really appreciate your wonderful words of feedback. Go leave me a review. I would love a rating, whatever you can do in the time that you've got. I would so appreciate it.